at the rec center and the anticipated cost coming to the city of Taylor related to that.
Once again, good evening. At the rec center, we received a call. We were on backup generator. So when we went to investigate on Saturday, we had to call DTE because a meter was dead when we arrived, so we had no power into the building. Upon their investigation, after they arrived and assessed, our primary switch failed, in which caused a surge. Transformer failed, so the primary switch kind of takes that raw power from the feed coming underground, breaks it down so it'll go into the transformer, come into the building to go into the panels and feed what it feeds. So we had failure. They're very old. They were there from when it was I think it was the Coliseum or Racket Time, Racket Time. So these are original to the building, and when the city took ownership of that building, they took ownership of those. They weren't on like the service plan with DTE or anything of that nature, so we own these units. So we are getting quotes working with purchasing. I was hoping to have one or two of them tonight, but they just couldn't get the numbers that quick from the people we were calling in the industry to get us those numbers. I'm hopeful in a few days. Ballpark figures is going to be probably 50 to 60K for the equipment and the install of that equipment and getting everything back online. I will make sure you guys receive those through the purchasing, Richard, and working with Richard to get those numbers together to present to you guys. The goal is, though, to get that back up and running. I don't want a building to sit with power, without power that long, and we really can't leave a generator running behind houses for weeks on end. So our goal is to get that fixed and bring that back as a receive and file.
Okay. All right, thank you, Rita. Does anybody else have anything they'd like to discuss tonight?
I have one question. Do you have an update on Beech Daly?
I didn't hear you. What did you say?
Beech Daly.
Oh, okay.
Any update on?
It looks like it's almost done.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, I don't know, Matt, if you have and Keith is off this week, so I know that they're in the final stages. I know that they were out paving their finished coat this week. I'll get you guys an approximate ETA tomorrow, and I'll forward it via email, but I would expect it to be real soon.
Yeah, I drove down there, I think yesterday, and it's pretty, I think they just got to put their top coat down and they're done on both sides, it looks like.
It's really close, and then we're currently working on Monroe, which will also be wrapping up fairly soon, and then we're going to break ground on Morton View and then Wick. So it'll be Monroe, Morton View, Wick, and then Goddard on the Wayne County FAC project.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Madam Clerk has something.
Oh, Madam Clerk?
And then one email. Actually, the one email was from Miss Kelly, and you answered that question already on the Superior Sidewalks. The next one is from Chuck Keynes. To council members, the traffic lights on Ecorse Road between Beech Daly and Monroe are not timed very well. I believe there is an opportunity to retime those lights.
Okay. Mayor, we would just normally reach out to, that's Wayne County or MDOT?
We all got an email from him.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, what we can do is, I know Chief Blair is still here. We'll have the head of the traffic division reach out to Wayne County. I don't know the exact specifics of what is not timed correctly. Sometimes when I drive and catch every red light, it's not timed correctly, according to my standard, right? So we'll look at if there truly is a timing issue or if it's just a matter of getting caught by the lights.
You know, there's one thing, and I don't know who would be able to answer this question, and I think it should be state man. Like some lights that have the turn light, you turn before the red, and then some you turn after, and I think that causes, like, you know, Pardee is different, a Pardee in Goddard is different from somewhere, you know, it just.
I would agree. I see people run.
Yeah, it's, I mean, because sometimes you pull out there thinking you're gonna, and the next thing you know, you're sitting there in the middle of a red light, so.
So Mr. Chairman, the leading left, as it's called, is the new standard. So as we replace lights at intersections, they will all begin with the incorporation of the leading left.
Okay.
This year, I know that the Pelham and Ecorse intersection is scheduled to be replaced, which that is a dangerous intersection. That is a welcome change. And then the Beech Daly and Van Born intersection is also scheduled to be replaced. So those two changes will occur, and that is, again, through the FAC program. Those will incorporate the leading lefts as well, and any other intersection that we, continue to upgrade will also, they'll include two things, the leading left, and they'll include the, can't remember what it's called, but the smart technology that detects vehicles and when they're not there, so if you don't pull up far enough sometimes, it won't recognize that your vehicle's there, and so it won't change. But it does help the flow of traffic. So those two things will be incorporated in each one of the intersections.
Okay. Councilman Johnson?
That leading left, is there a standard on the time for that? Do we know? Because it seems like that leading left isn't very long.
Mr. Chairman, there probably is. I don't have that answer. Again, I'll defer to Chief Blair if you know the answer of how long, or you're asking how long somebody has to turn while it's green?
It seems like we get the leading left and we can only get 2 cars, maybe 3 cars through when there's 10 stacked up.
Or one semi.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure if there's I'm sure there's a standard answer. I don't know the answer. I don't know, Chief Blair, if you know that answer?
My answer would be also no, it's not. They give you a certain amount of time in the intersection. They split up the time depending on traffic flow. So for some, it may be 12 or 13 seconds. It could be as short as 8. It just really depends. I know some big, large events, they'll schedule it with that leading left to be 30 seconds. So there's a time limit they give to the intersection, and based upon traffic flow, they split up that time with the different light cycles. But statistically, the leading left, the idea behind it is that it reduces the serious injury and fatal crashes through
And I agree with
statistical.
that. It just, you say they. Who's they?
Maybe MDOT in the state of Michigan here,
So
the county.
they look at Part E in Goddard and they go, well, we only need 8 seconds here.
Traffic flow count numbers is how they do things, ideally, is the manner that they'd use for that.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Clerk Bauer, you got another one?
Okay, the next is an email received from a resident, Kim Good. Good evening. Why does the PD request $80,000 earmark for COVID-19 plan when they are not closing? Non-essential businesses have been called into the PD. That have been called into the PD. I'm curious as to why the Taylor PD doesn't support our Governor Whitmer's executive orders.
Might want to come back.
I'll save Chief Blair his steps. The $85,000 that's earmarked through the Department of Justice is money that essentially is being provided to us. We're not going to say no. It's just there are requirements as to what it can be used for. If the specifics are, it has to be related to COVID purchases. Obviously, that is money we're instead of spending general fund money on that, we obviously would not turn it down and say no to that, especially in a time of need like now. So I hope that answers the first part of the question. In terms of the second part of the question, we are doing our best to enforce the governor's executive orders. Sometimes there are interpretation challenges. What is enforceable, what is required by us to enforce. We have gone out on several calls, the Taylor Police Department has, same thing with the Taylor Ordinance Department, to either shut down businesses or check to see if they're doing things the right way. But specifically, we are doing our best to enforce the executive order.
Councilman Johnson?
And I agree with that. I've actually talked to the chief a couple of times and they've gone out and talked to businesses and taken care of the problem. So you can only do so much.
That is true, and there is a certain level of interpretation that does become difficult. There's some mixed messaging that has been somewhat challenging, but I just don't agree with the overall statement that we're not enforcing the order, because I think we are.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Councilman Bzura?
and I think it needs to be said that this nonsense of defining essential versus non-essential needs to go away too. I don't know anybody that has a job that isn't essential, and for at least 3 or 4 weeks in this state, we could have pivoted to a safe versus unsafe strategy. So to suggest the city's not doing something, we're doing what's safe, we're trying to comply, but by the same token, I think the governor needs to look at safe versus unsafe, and if any of the 1.5 million unemployed people in the state could be working, when it's safe to do so, safe for them, safe for their coworkers, safe for their family, it's absolute garbage that we're deeming them non-essential and not allowing them to go to work. So there's a lot of people that need to reassess what's being done in the state, and not letting people work when it's safe to do so is, I think, the first priority we should take a look at.
Ms. Good responded. She was told, or I was told, that they did not have the manpower. However, at the time of the call, one patrol officer was sitting at Superior and Telegraph. Was also told at last council meeting that 4 birthday parades were done, which I think is great. However, I find it odd that they wouldn't help Governor Whitmer's executive orders. Thank you. So, that being said, on the end of her comment, I do have something clerk related.
Sure.
You all should have received an email from me. It was sent right before the meeting, so you might not have gotten it yet. We are in the process of mailing out 7,500 absentee applications. That will be this week, I think tomorrow, but we haven't gotten a confirmation yet. Then this morning I found out the Secretary of State is going to be mailing the rest of the voters who are not on that permanent list a letter with an application. So everyone, every voter, not everyone, but every registered voter in Taylor will receive an application for an absentee ballot. You also got a picture of a ballot box that I purchased, like a drop box, and that will be going here on Pine Street next to the payment drop box. It'll be white and it'll be worded clearly. You have an example on your emails. It'll say clerk's office and it'll say election mail only. So hopefully I don't get payments, but if so, I will share them with the treasurer. But we're doing that to try to kind of help with the, you know, a lot of people like to bring them in versus mailing because they just, the mail's behind these days and they don't trust it, so they like to hand them directly in. So that will be an option for them as well.
I have a question for Ms. Bauer.
Yes.
When you get an application, say someone has gotten the application, filled it out, and then they've got their, you know, their ballot, is there a permanent one that can be sent?
So they can be.
Do you have to apply all the time, sorry?
Yes, they can be placed on permanent absentee status, but that just means that they'll simply receive the application.
Oh.
For the ballot, that we cannot automatically, we have to receive the request in writing by law. We just can't send the ballot out without the request.
So the application comes either way?
If they request it and if they don't want to vote absentee, if they want to vote in person, they can just throw that application in the garbage.
Okay, thank you.
Councilman Johnson?
So, if I'm correct, if I do absentee and I send you my ballot, you guys open it, you check it with my signature that's on file. Is that correct?
We receive your ballot, we timestamp it to prove that it was received, the date and time that it was. Your signature is checked actually when you apply as well. When you send your application in, we check your signature off of that. We are not signature experts, but we only have to match like 1 or 2 letters, and that's pretty easy to do. And if it doesn't match, we call the voter and we'll say sometimes health issues, they've had a stroke. They don't sign like they used to. So we'll tell them, can we update your signature? We'll get a new card from them. They can sign with an X if they absolutely have to due to medical conditions. Husbands will sign for wives, wives will sign for husbands. It's not allowed. We do check that.
Okay.
When the ballots come in, same thing. We check the signature, and if it matches, a red check mark goes there. The ballot is then scanned into the system that we received it, and then it's filed away in a secure location.
One other question, anybody that lives in Taylor that passes away, do you receive their death certificate?
Yes, 2 ways. If they've passed in Taylor, like at their home or at the hospital in Taylor, we'll get the death record from the funeral home. If they've passed in, say, Dearborn, the Dearborn clerk, all clerks around, we all share death certificates with other clerks.
So once you get that death certificate, you go to their voter's file and you remove them from the file.
That's correct.
Thank you.
Okay,
Okay. Does anybody else have anything?
thank you.
Okay. Not, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn. Support.
Okay, I have a motion by Council